Hello, I'm here today with my gran Carol Dowling to ask her about her memories from World War II.
Hello, I'm Carol Dowling and I was born on Christmas Day, hence my name, 1932. So I do vividly remember that World War because I was only little when it started. But I can remember all my family gathering round the wireless and it being announced that we were at war. And it didn't mean much to me, but the whole of my family were looking really worried.
Hello, today I'm here with my granddad Bob Dowling and he's going to tell us about the first day the war broke out.
I can remember the very day that the war started, and I was 6 years and 10 months old, so I didn't really understand what it was all about. And all the family were gathered around what we called in those days the wireless set, to be a radio now. And I remember everybody looking very upset and some were crying. And Mr. Chamberlain, the Prime Minister, came on and said that we are now at war with Germany. And I can remember that quite vividly.
So, can you remember anything about listening to the wireless and hearing Winston Churchill on his speeches?
Yes, we listened to the wireless a lot because you couldn't go out to places like cinemas or anything like that. So we listened to the wireless a lot. Didn't have telly in those days, you know, a long time ago. But I was very reassured when Winston Churchill spoke. I thought it was wonderful. And I had got an older sister and she said, oh, the bombs will come and we'll get hurt and the Germans will take you away. And she frightened me to death, actually.
One night there was an air raid and I was at a friend's house and the air raid sirens went, and the mother of my friend whose house I was with said, you better go home. So I ran home and I was running downhill, so I was running quite fast. And the sirens had gone. Unfortunately, usually you used to get about half an hour's notice, but this time it was about a minute. So on the way home as I was running, the bombs actually came down and I was so frightened and scared, and I'd be about 8 at the time. I was so frightened and scared that I slipped and my head went straight into the gate post and I smashed 3 of my front top teeth.
But what I especially remember is that my bedroom, there was a mill opposite, an old mill that wasn't used anymore. It was just used for storage. But they put the air raid siren on top of it. And by gum, when it went, I used to shoot out of bed and run downstairs and get into the cellar, down the steps there, and I thought I was safe then. And we never did get bombed, but we could hear the bombs going off. But we didn't get any in Horbury, so we were quite lucky. But you still went to school.
I can remember listening to the radio in 1940 when the Battle of Britain was on, and they used to give the score every day, how many the Germans had lost and how many Britain had lost. And I can remember it was a bit like a cricket match. And we found out later, of course, that we were slightly exaggerating a bit to make it seem a bit better, but the Germans were doing it as well, so it was all right. And fortunately, we came out on top, but golly, it was a close thing. And because it was over Britain, most of our pilots who parachuted out was safe, and the German ones were captured. So we got our pilots back, but they didn't. And the Germans never really recovered from the loss of aircrew in 1940.
But I have recollection of being taken somewhere to get a gas mask, and my brother and I went together. He was 2 years older than me, but he was frightened to put this thing on his face. But I thought it was fun. It was like a mask. I pulled it over and really enjoyed it. And they were saying to him, look at your little sister, she can put it on. And so reluctantly he did. But we had to, wherever we went after that, school, shops, we must have our gas masks with us.
Within my family, I had two uncles who were in the war. One was in the army, Uncle Jim, and he was very badly wounded at Dunkirk in 1940 when the British Army were driven out of Europe. And he had a younger brother, my Uncle Arthur, who joined the Navy in about 1942 when he was 18. He survived. He was on minesweepers. So those were the two people actually directly in the war.
So you said about how your sister would scare you. How exactly did she do that?
So she would frighten me by saying the Germans will come. They've invaded different countries in Europe. They will come here. And when they come, what you have to remember is go to the bottom of the garden. You will find some rhubarb. Hide under the rhubarb leaves. But I never had to do it because they didn't come.
And what my stepfather did, he was an engineer. He'd been in the First World War as a tank driver. And he used to tell me the tale about the biggest danger was at night time because they put the tanks in too early and they were always breaking down. So they had to wait until nightfall, undo the tank turret, climb out of the turret, creep down and approach the British lines. And that was the most dangerous part of all because the British troops didn't know if they were genuinely British or Germans pretending to be British. So to be from their point of view on the safe side, they just shot at them. So they had to arrange passwords. And I always remember this, he told me the passwords always had TH in them. Like this Thursday is Thieves' Night. Evidently Germans can't say that. It comes out as this Thursday is Thieves' Night. Bang, bang.
We did have Vera Lynn singing, and we all liked Vera Lynn singing. There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover tomorrow. Just you wait and see when the war is over, you know. And she was a great, wonderful example, and she would go to the troops and sing for them. So I used to think Vera Lynn was wonderful. Anybody, you know, who tried to lift you, and that's what you needed, really. My father had a grocery shop. Food was rationed. I was only young. I had to go work in the shop, weighing up sugar and counting the coupons and stuff like that. But it was good for me.
And Leeds had the biggest munitions factory in England. It was 1/2 a mile square, so it was pretty obvious, but it was very well camouflaged with false trees on all the roofs to make it look like a forest. And fortunately it was never hit, but the Germans knew approximately where it was.
How did you feel when the war was finally over?
Oh, very greatly relieved. And I can remember everybody cheering and out in the streets and throwing everything around.
But we were so happy when it was over. Wasn't frightened anymore.
There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover tomorrow. Just you